Hey folks, welcome back to Only the Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I'm coming to you with 10 fantasy series I intend to read in 2025. And at the top of that list is a series that I said I would read in 2024 and I did not. And that is Ciaran McGuire's October Day series. This series is the one I want to read to scratch that urban fantasy, pulpy, action adventure thriller itch. I need something to tide me over until the next Dresden and the next Stephen Oakwood books come out. And Ciaran McGuire is an author I have a lot of respect for with the stuff that I've read from her so far. And this series, it just looks like it has a lot of fun things going on. So I do really want to try it. And I do intend to get to it this year because I said in my version of this video last year that I would do it and I didn't. So right at it, we'll top it. My next pick is also another series that I said I was going to read last year, but I didn't, and that is Django Wexler's Shadow Campaigns. In this case, I ended up prioritizing a bunch of new releases I wanted to read instead, and the money I was going to take to buy this series, I put to that instead. So I'll read this sometime this year, or if I borrow it from the library or whatever. But this is still very much a series that I'm interested in reading. The third series I want to read this year is going to be Jeff Vandermeer's Ambergris series. I want to get to this because I reread the Southern Reach trilogy last year in anticipation of the fourth book, and it really got me hyped to read more of Jeff Vandermeer's stuff. And this was the initial trilogy I wanted to read from him. I'm not quite sure how I ended up reading the Southern Reach instead. I think someone loaned me the books or something. But anyway, I really want to get to these next and see and just keep working my way slowly but steadily through everything Jeff Vandermeer. Moving on is a fourth series, and it's Glenn Cook's Instrumentalities of the Night. It was well over 10 years between when I read Black Company and when I finally read Dread Empire, and Instrumentalities of the Night is the next Glenn Cook series that I'm very hyped to get to. I don't want to wait another 10 years between series from him. So I want to get to this. Glenn Cook is an author I have tremendous respect for, and I really want to see what this series is about. To be honest, I haven't heard very positive things about it, but I want to see if it works better for me than it did for Joseph. Yeah. Moving on, at number 5, I have Kate Elliott's Crown of Stars series, and this is actually a much older epic fantasy series I keep wanting to get to. Like Kate Elliott, I don't believe she needs much introduction. Like she's very much one of those dominant names of epic fantasy from the 80s, 90s, that kind of thing. And now that I finally got around to reading Johnny Words, like it made me bump Kate Elliott that much up higher of the TBR, because like I wanted, if I missed out on Johnny Words this long and it was that incredible, what am I missing here? And I know Nico really loves this series, so I want to jump in on it and see for myself, like what else have I been missing out on. And speaking of missing out on stuff, the next series that I want to read this year is KJ Parker's Engineer Trilogy, and this series, I'm ashamed to say, is one that's been on my TBR, I can say exactly 16 years, because when I was in school for engineering, that's when I first came across this trilogy. And I kept saying, I'm going to read this someday, and 16 years later, here we are. But yeah, KJ Parker's Engineer Trilogy. Recently, I finally got around to reading KJ Parker. I read a couple of the standalones, and I read the absolutely insane Fencer Trilogy as part of the Library of Alexandria's read-along last year. And I really want to get to this trilogy, because from what I've heard those guys talk about it there, especially what Anita's mentioned, like it sounds nuts, and I want to finally get to it and enjoy it. And speaking about Gonzo series, we get to number 7 on the list, and that is R. Scott Bakker's Aspect Emperor series. This one, I think I mentioned it on my list last year, and this one was a bit iffy then, and it's also iffy now, because Bakker isn't something you get into lightly. I've heard it's even better than his Prince of Nothing trilogy, which for me is only a good thing. I am very hyped to get to this, but I also know that for me to really maximize how much I'm going to enjoy this series, I need to hit it at the point when I'm very hyped. And I haven't quite hit that point yet. That kind of point as yet, I should say. So when the mood really strikes me to hit this, I'm going to go for it. Moving on is I'm fairly sure I mentioned this trilogy last year also, and that is Ashoke Banker's Born Empire Saga. This one, it's yet another Indian author doing yet another retelling of the Mahabharata. So, like, I'm not like super hyped for it or anything, but the wife is interested in reading these, so I'm gonna read them just to have something additional to talk to her about it. The next book is actually one that I got really excited to read after I saw Library Ladder's video on Moorcock's Multiverse, and that is the Vanbeck Trilogy by Michael Moorcock. And it was that video that let me know that this is one of the 2 recommended starting places for the entire Eternal Champion mythos, because in this one it delves into some of the I think it was some of the more physical aspects of the Eternal Champion mythos, and of course this is Moorcock. It's a crazy story on top of all of that, a crazy entertaining joyride of a story on top of all of that. So I am hyped to get to this one. This might very well be one of the first ones I get to on this list, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The final series I absolutely have to get to this year is Ara Salvador's Icewind Dale Trilogy, and I have the Driss 25th anniversary editions, and I read the first one last year, Dark Elf, the first trilogy I should say, in chronological order, and I was just completely blown away by that. I didn't expect fiction of that caliber. So I am even more hyped than ever to read more Driss, and I do know that this series is a step back from Dark Elf, because this one, like in terms of publication order, this one was written first. So I'm expecting a bit of a step back, but at the same time I'm still very much expecting an entertaining read, because this is classic sword and sorcery fantasy. It's based on the D&D setting, Forgotten Realms, whatever, but you don't need to know it. I never played D&D, I don't know anything about that. I still had an absolute blast reading the Dark Elf trilogy, and I expect the same to happen here. And I got through this video a hell of a lot faster than I expected to, so yay me. And that's 10 series I want to read this year. Hopefully I actually hit everything on here. Even if I fall short, I'll still get to quite a lot that I want to read. So yeah, if you're interested in any of these, drop a comment, let's talk about them. If you've read any of these, if you have opinions, leave a comment. Yeah, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.